All right, guys. I just finished up recording with Mr. Erik Devash. He is one of the industry's smartest guys. So, had a really cool conversation with him. We talked about the acquisition, window tint delay, his business model, scaling, everything. What to expect from TintBiz in the future. So, stick around, check out the podcast. Hope you guys like it. Regardless, if they got the skills, it transitions to literally any business. Because I think for me, I look at the business as a formula, and it's just numbers kind of meshed together because I have an accounting background. So I look at the numbers and that's how I try to run my business, So, but anyways, tell us a little bit about yourself. I don't really I know about you, but not much about you, So you're from the LA area originally?
So my name's Erik Devash. I grew up in Florida. I was born in New York, grew up in Florida. Business career. So my dad was immigrant from Israel. So I grew up knowing that he had a business for himself in New York. He was kind of semi-retired once I was a kid, so I didn't really get to see him working too much. But I knew he was able to make a life for himself and business for himself. So I kind of always looked at I was going to carve my way outside of maybe traditional, because I saw it as he had a hard time in a sense. He comes from another country, doesn't know the language, and he still was able to do it for himself. He didn't need anybody's approval. He just was able to start a business and do well for himself. So I thought that's I could see that path for myself. College, I explored law school, took the tests, got in, and decided there was no way I wanted more school. School was like a prison to me. All I wanted to do was be in business. At the time, I had started selling on eBay and doing a lot of internet marketing because you could do that when you're 15, 16. There was no real limit at the time. They didn't even really ask for too much paperwork. I had an e-commerce background. In college, I got into call centers, which taught me the importance of scripts and sales and CRMs and so on, and then managing of people. After that, I got back into marketing. That's where I kind of entered my foot into window tinting. And it started because in my marketing office, we would have this window tinter. It was my partner's friend from school. Come tint our cars, come tint the office, black out the office glass windows so you couldn't see the call center, tint our car windows and so on. And that turned out to be David from Ultimate Window Tinting. Then he ends up tinting my condo windows, and then darker, and then lighter because I was indecisive. And the next thing you know, he buys a condo down the hall from me. So he becomes my neighbor, and I start helping him with marketing for Ultimate Window Tinting, his website, and so on. And that's how I got into the industry.
So Ultimate Window Tint came before Window Tint LA?
Yeah, far before. So David had that started since his teens, I would bet. And then I probably got into it 5, 6, 7, 8 years at least after the company was formed.
So how'd you end up in LA?
Oh, I was living in Orlando at the time because of after college, and we'd closed down the call centers, and I just basically wanted a new life for myself. I didn't really love what was going on in Florida, law wise. It just didn't seem like the right place for me. So I was just looking around, came to LA. I went to Austin for a couple of weeks. I went to Vancouver for a couple of weeks. Then I came to LA for a couple of weeks with an Airbnb. And I just went from the Airbnb, rented a place, and didn't leave. And I just felt like there was nowhere better.
So then you made it down to LA, and then...
Made it to LA, started a marketing company.
Marketing.
Opened up an office in Marina Del Rey. Was doing marketing, and David would come and visit.
So what year was this?
2012, 13, so right around there.
So that's before like early internet days?
Sort of. I mean,
2012. No, that's
it's already still going. I would just to put people in perspective. Businesses were just really starting to focus on SEO. I think Yelp was a big thing at the time, very big, and online reviews were really starting to really take traction. And in the window film industry, people hadn't been using Google AdWords as much. We had been using them for years. I started doing that for Ultimate Window Tinting years prior, but it wasn't super common, especially, not in auto and not in flat.
I'm really interested in Window Tint LA and how when did you start it? When did it get acquired? What was that scaling process of going from because you started from zero, right?
Yeah. So 2013-ish, basically David would come and visit every few months. And I had a marketing company, so I figured why not throw up a website for window tinting? If it gets leads, I'm sure he'd want to do something with them and maybe visit more, make some money, whatever. Set up a website, started getting leads in right away. I asked David what to do with them, and he was like, go sell them, go talk to some shops. So I talked to some shops. He was like, oh, I'll come to town, we'll sell them. So he came, flew over here. We go to a couple of shops with him, me and him now, and he's talking to these people. And I just remember one specific shop, I won't mention any names, but man, did he blow us off. And like, that was one of those like moments of fire where we're like, and then Dave was like, well, how much to tint his car? Because my car didn't have tint. I just got it. And the guy gave us like full retail price. And like, we knew him. That moment was like, me and David left there, and David or I together, I don't remember who said it, but it was just like, oh, fuck it. Let's do this ourselves. Like, we can just fulfill these leads ourselves. Put an ad on Craigslist looking for a flat glass tinter that wants to do like sub work. We got a response. It was Rick's nephew, Jeremy. He was our first response. I said, come into my office in Marina Del Rey. I had a bathroom window, and I was like, can you frost that window so I can see you know what you're doing? He did. And I was like, all right, perfect. We'll call you when we have work. That was it. We started getting jobs in. We started selling them, and then we would just send him an email. When can you get this done? And
pretty much it started as a marketing agency that turned into like a full-on tint company, huh?
Yeah. So then coincidentally at the time, my dad passed away. So I decided to go to Florida for like a year, sell my condo that I still had there and all this. So basically what it did was I closed the marketing company, just like overnight. Was like, oh, I'll just close the marketing company. So it left the window tint company as like, all right, well, this thing's going. The focus became that window tint company. And then at the time, David was a partner in it. And then a gentleman named Neil Caro was a partner in it. So he started being like, he was the sales guy basically. In his BMW, he would just like go do sales. What I mean by BMW is like, it wasn't a fancy car. It was just like a 3 Series, like BMW just got in it, goes to sales. And then we just started scaling it up like piecework, right? So like when Neil sold a job, he would check with Jeremy. Then that led to maybe a couple other installers. It was who can get the job done. We'd email them over the information. When they were done with the job, they'd email back that they did it. Like, it was very getting it done. No real overhead, no real infrastructure other than like email, Apple Calendar, Excel file, like a Google shared doc, and so on.
So then how did it like, because you got, obviously you grew to the point where, I don't know if you mind talking about numbers, but like at the end,
yeah,
like,
no, we talk about all numbers.
Yeah?
I think everybody should talk about their numbers, including how much money they're taking home, because that's the numbers people don't want to talk about.
Yeah, okay, cool, yeah.
Which is the kind of the whole thing.
Okay, cool. So like when you sold, what were you grossing at?
We were doing a little over $3 million a year when we sold.
Okay, and then
when we started the process of selling, we were doing like high 2s.
Okay,
and then the last like took probably 6. I don't know. It's hard to remember actually exactly, but maybe about 6 to 9 months from like, hey, we should sell this to like, hey, it's sold. And in that point, we actually had our best year. Even then, the process of selling at the time kind of. I said, all right, I'm going to put even more trust in my team and more trust in my admin. And we had big projects at the time. And I go, you handle it, to the sales guy and the admin without my involvement. And things even went better. And that was just a minor note that reflecting on.
So like at that 1.5 million, because that's kind of where I'm at, what was your business model at that point?
So let's take it year by year. First year we started, partial year was like March, April. And we did like about 350,000 that year. Okay. And we're like, wow. But what was more impressive than like, I mean, that's not a huge amount of money, but it's not bad for a first year.
Yeah, but
what was more impressive was what I saw we were pacing at in December, January, February of that next year. And we were pacing at $1 million, and that's what we did. So our second year we did $1 million. Damn. And that's when we said, when we were pacing to be at $1 million, so that beginning of year 2, I was like, okay, we need to reduce the bottleneck. So when I'm answering a phone call, which was literally happening our first year, literally I'm answering a phone call, and I have to schedule somebody in 90017 because I'm not that familiar with the area code. Mm-hmm. And I look at my Apple Calendar and I can see, well, we're in 90010. What I'm saying is our biggest problem was scheduling people efficiently. Literally started just building solutions to our biggest problems first, which was scheduling, just being able to route people efficiently. So when our admin would pick up a call to schedule somebody, I wanted them to be able to type in that person's information quickly, see on the map where that person is, schedule them efficiently, and make it happen fast and like have a great customer experience. Because to me, if an admin can get off the phone in 1/3 of the time, that means they can do 3 times the amount of work, meaning I could pay them maybe, I could pay them 50% more and they're still out working a normal person. You see what I mean? So yeah. I figured like if I can get one person to do 3 persons jobs, that means I could do a lot more with 1 or 2 people. I don't need 6 people. What was also fresh in my head was coming out of like what happened in 2008, 9, 10, and with, we know of it as like a real estate crash, but it affected the window film industry too. And a lot of window film companies that had been thriving in the early 2000s, I had now seen what had happened. Even so I wasn't in the industry, I was seeing the aftermath of it, was people were rebuilding 2010, 2009, 2011, they're rebuilding. I wanted to make sure that we didn't build, and then something comes that's outside of my predictions, that wipes us down like a hurricane, the Dominican Republic. You know, it comes through, you don't know it's coming, wipes you down, and then you spend a decade rebuilding. You see it physically happen sometimes, unfortunately. That happens in business all the time as well. COVID did it to a lot of companies where it wiped them out, it put them in debt, and now they'll spend years and years and years rebuilding. To avoid that potentially from happening, I wanted to be as efficient as possible.
So then we go year 3. What's year 3?
So year 2 was $1 million. Year 3 was like 2 and change, $2.3 million.
So you doubled, huh? Right.
We were full running. So let me tell you some of like the secrets how that happened. Year 2, somewhere in year 2 and change, we opened up an office. So before that, we were operating all completely remotely. We had a van that we bought and we parked it in a rented parking space in Santa Monica in one of those lots you could rent a spot all month. And we had a lock box on it and we would use that for film pickup and for installers to use that to drop off and pick up their film. A year like 2 and change, I said, let's get an office. We rented an office on La Brea in Inglewood. 3 admins answering phones in like right off the bat. We built shelves out and just stocked them with film. We started buying vans and Priuses being the sales vehicle, vans being the install, and we just started saying like to an installer, hey, like they were busy. We'd say, if you have anybody that would want to come help you with the job, let us know. Get them in the door, give them a van, and send them out.
So that second year, like what was your model as far as like dollars and your admin, and like are you running on like a subcontractor model, or you...
Hard to remember if we initially hired people as like a subcontractor, but just let's put it this way. At the time, everybody that worked for us only worked for us. There was very few people that were maybe in transitionary time, or sometimes we would hire glazers for Dow that, you know, unrelated to us as a contractor. For the most part, we would, when we got an installer in, we would bring them in as our full-time installer. We would load them up first with work as long as like they could handle it, and then our previous installers, like we would always keep them busy, but we wanted you to come in and go, we have work for you, we're consistent, we have a van, we have tools, we have a uniform, we're going to make your life easy, here's an iPad. And that's how we would like lock in really talented installers from other companies. So a lot of companies will say like my biggest challenge is finding installers.
Yeah.
No, their biggest challenge is having consistent work and treating them right, managing them well so that they can have installers.
But you were never trained an installer, you were just hired?
We would hire, we would bring on knowledgeable installers, and then there would be a couple times where there would be like Little Oscar, for example. Little Oscar came on as a helper for an installer named Marco. So Marco was the installer we hired.
Marco?
You know Marco.
There's an older Marco.
Older's like me, my age?
No,
like,
I call him the OG.
No, it's not a super old. So Marco works for Joe. He used to work for Joe Lima's, like Joe Lima, which is Joe Guzman's uncle that got him into the industry. Joe Lima's nephew is Marco. And so like Marco came into work for us, and Marco was like, hey, I have an assistant. I'll pay him, like, but he'll come do the jobs with me. That was Little Oscar.
Okay.
So like Little Oscar would go up there and just clean windows, just hand fill, would not be installing. And Marco literally like didn't want him installing, right? Because you don't want that guy being an installer. You want him as your assistant. And then one day Marco disappears. Little Oscar says, what am I going to do? I said, hello, installer. You can start off doing smaller jobs. We knew he wasn't like that good, but he can go do a couple of frost windows or whatever. He was somebody that I would say like, you know, we trained up within the environment.
And what was the pay structure with your installers?
We pay per square foot. So at the time, what we would do is I would literally say like, send me your price list. And
yeah, that's what
they would just send us a price list. And like, for the most part, that was it. We just go, okay.
I'm doing things right now is like, I have guys that just work for me, you know, and I pay them by the square footage. And then sometimes when I get busy, you know, and social media has changed the game for me, because like now I could get a job in freaking New Jersey, just put out a thing and I have installers in New Jersey, you know. But it's hard because you don't know the guy, you have to vet him and stuff like that. So that's something I'm trying to figure out. Would you recommend like training from scratch or no?
Yeah, it depends on your goals, right? So like if you're...
So was your goal initially? Because like...
Our goal is to scale. And if you're trying to grow, then I wouldn't be training everybody from scratch if you're trying to grow. But you could still grow. Like, it's going to be faster for me. I can hire 10 skilled installers faster than you can train 10 skilled installers. So it's simply faster. But like you work with what you have and you do what you do. And when it comes to like sales, for example, we train from scratch. When it comes to admin, we train from scratch. But when it comes to installers, if they're available, I don't see why you train from scratch. But if you're in like a small town, smaller market, you don't have experienced installers like at your will, then go train from scratch.
So yeah, let's talk about the sales, because that's one current issue. Like I have Rick as my main guy.
Yep.
I have my uncle, and then I have I go, you know, if we have 3 consults, if Rick's fully booked up for the day, then it goes to my uncle. Then if they're both full up, then it goes to me, you know. So that's kind of like the hierarchy we're running. But How many estimators did you have when you were like at your peak?
2 to 3. We always had 2 to 3.
2 to 3.
Always 2 to 3. Same with admins. We always had 2 to 3. If we had 2, we'd get the third. So like sometimes whether it be salesperson or admin, they would fall from 3 to 2. We'd get the third. 3 is a very important number. If you have 1 and that person doesn't show up today, you have a huge problem. Yeah. Huge. If you have 2, things start to get real good, right? Because 1 can train the other. They start to kind of. But when you have 3, you've now developed like somewhat of a culture. And when you have 2 people doing something and you add a third, that third falls in line really easily. It creates a great round robin for answering phone calls and doing tasks and a great team environment. If you're missing 1 and you have 2 on a day or a week, you're fine. But you have 2 and you have 1, you're missing 50%. It's different. That makes sense. 3 was a very important number, whether it came to sales or admin. It's just nice to have.
And then as far as the pay structure how would you structure the pay for yourselves?
So admins, we would simply, at the time, we would start them at $18 an hour, and this was 2014, 15, so that was solid money back then. Right now, if I was paying in LA, I would just say like $25 an hour. Because like $25 an hour is not easy to get. It's pretty solid. It's a couple bucks above more. Now, if you found somebody that's great and they're making $23 an hour, go for $26 an hour. Like, here's the thing: $1 an hour, $2 an hour is $80 a week, $40 a week, $120 a week, depending. A 40-hour week, $3 an hour per hour. It's $100 a week. It is peanuts in the grand scheme of things when you're talking about somebody whose job is to answer phones, deal with customers, schedule the jobs, schedule you on a console. That console could be $1,000 or $20,000 or $100,000 in profit, and you're going to worry about $2 an hour, $80 a week on their pay? Definitely not. So what I'm saying is, I would just go, what's kind of standard? What are they thinking? What's used to? Jump them up. Jump them up to where they go, I'm not even going to bother looking around anymore. This is great. And then we would make them comfortable. We would never harass them. We would have snacks in a fridge, let them enjoy their break. We would never be admin job was like, if I can tell you're on a customer that's stressed or whatever, can I help? Like, send them to me. I don't mind. Like, that was always the vibe. Now, did I want to get on a customer call with some customer that's upset about something? Absolutely not. But did I pretend that it was absolutely no big deal because that sets the tone? Absolutely. So what I'm saying, it was like very stress-free, very like, we love our customers love us, and we're never going to get upset with them, and so on. That was admin vibe per hour. Salespeople, we would say you're going to get a salary versus commission. So we would do, I believe it was like, we would say like $750, $850 as a minimum, but that number was like a fake number, right? It didn't really matter. It was like a carrot. You're never going to get that $850. You're always going to be on commission because we're going to be sending you out. But it let them know that like day 1, I'm not like, oh my God, what's going on? Week 2, oh my God, what's going on? No, you have a salary. Don't worry about it. We're going to be fine. Versus commission, which was, I believe, 10%. We just do 10% of the gross sale. And they had to obviously work within pricing parameters and so on. But they would make, like, our salespeople would make like $1,500 to like, sometimes there'd be $3,000 paychecks. And like, we had a salesperson that came from driving Uber. Nothing wrong with driving Uber. I'm saying it was just not a sales position or a window tint position. And they went from driving Uber immediately into window tint sales. By their second year, I kid you not, they were taking a trip to Japan to eat at a Michelin star restaurant that they had their eye on. Like, they were living large.
So how do you take an Uber driver to become a salesman? Like, what's like the training process behind that? Like,
you make it really easy for them. So first of all, you have to keep them stacked with job consults, like consults that are worth their time, right? Like, they're going to nice homes and businesses that are looking for window tint that's not $300 all the time. It's $1,000, $8,000, $5,000, right? They're getting enough opportunities. We'd send them in a uniform, in a wrapped company vehicle. We'd send them with a heat demo, a folder, W-9, insurance on the left side, samples that they were going to present to the customer on the right side. And it's simple. They walk in, they're on time, they called ahead of time. The person already liked our admin. And when the salesperson comes in there, they measure the windows. They are able to type in the dimensions immediately into the app, which made a difference, and provide the quote right there on the spot. Show them the heat demo, which changes a lot, right? When a customer says, like, why would I pay so much? Why would I pay more? What's the difference? When they feel the difference and then they just see it and feel it, they're pretty sold. And when they get the price on the spot, they can answer questions. We can get it done. When do you want to get this installed? That's us. Now, the companies we were going against were coming out days, sometimes many days after calling. They would take the measurements and they would oftentimes say, the office is going to email you a quote, or I'm going to get back home and I'll type it up. Customer gets a quote a day or two later, goes to spam. Sometimes they don't get it. They call the company. I didn't get my quote. It's a whole different process. So a lot of our business came from speed to lead. We answered the phone fast. We scheduled them fast. We got out there quickly because we had three consultants throughout different parts of LA. So we were going to be in your area quick. We got out there quick. We gave them the quote fast, and we could schedule installation on the spot and get it done fast. And the other companies were getting the call, hey, we already got this taken care of.
So when did TintBiz Beta come into play? Year 2?
So year 2, it was Tint CRM. And like I said, we started with the scheduling, and then we went to quoting, and we started adding things like pictures and notes and reminders and tasks and inventory management. And so, hey, we're out on a job. How much film do we have? Like, what are we doing? Because obviously you know how the film builds up on the shelves. So that was the beginning. Year 3, we continued to develop the software. And then year 4 was where, I remember exactly I was working from home that day, and I was helping out with some phone calls around like 4 or 5 p.m. I just, I knew inside. Okay, let's start here. I would look at window tint, like operating the business is very important. I would look at it as there's tasks that I'm doing today that are transactional. They keep the business running, they make profit, they keep everybody getting paid and so on, but they have no future value on the company. They're just the jobs we're doing today. And then there would be things that I would do for the company that I would say, this is building value for tomorrow. This is helping systems move faster. This is gonna, this move. So when we did something in the CRM, we could see the effects immediately. So we put automated appointment reminders. Now everything has automated appointment reminders. At the time, that was very helpful. And when we would do something, so what I started getting internally frustrated with was how much of my time was going to day-to-day stuff versus how much of my time was going to infrastructure stuff. And as the company was getting bigger, there's just a lot to manage with that because we were figuring it out as we were going. Yeah. So that leaves a lot to clean up. And if you're dealing with day-to-day and not future stuff, who's cleaning that mess up, right? So I had this kind of epiphany moment where I was just like, why don't I just sell this company? And my plan originally was we were going to scale Window Tint LA to the United States. We could do it everywhere, just like we were doing in LA. And then I go, why would I do that? I go, literally, I like the software part of it. I see the value in the software and all that and how much it affects a tint company. I don't have to own the tint company. The users could be the ones operating the tint company, and I could just focus on the software, and they could be my partners, essentially. Like, in my head, it's like, that's that division. I don't own any part of that division. I'll just focus on my division. So I called it my film manufacturer, the one we bought from multiple, but the one that Hooper Optic was the one that we bought probably the most of, or at least them and Eastman were 50-50, them and Vista. And I knew that they had an interest in making sure that the company didn't just randomly get sold, because if it randomly got sold, it could become a Solar Guard company. It could become an anything company, and they don't want to lose. I think we were their biggest purchasers. And you could add up a few below us, and we're still the biggest. So like together. So what I'm saying is that to me made sense, so I reached out to them first. Very simply said, do you know anybody looking to buy the best company in Los Angeles? I emphasize that point because when somebody thinks like, hey, I want to sell my business, there's like a fear involved, right? Like if I'm announcing I'm selling it, what happens to my employees? Maybe they leave. What happens, like, are people going to now think I'm not committed? All these things come into play. So it was my soft way of just saying like, hey, do you think anybody wants to buy this company? One of their largest dealers as well was Matt from Solar Art, which is now American Window Film. And they basically touched base with Matt. They said, I think Matt would be a great one to buy your company. They said, let me put the bug in his ear so you don't have to like directly like, what's up, Matt? I never talked to the guy other than at dealer meetings. So they kind of connected the thing, and Matt reached out that same day, said, hey, heard you're interested in the company, we should meet up. We met up at a Starbucks, and we talked, him and his partners, and got the ball rolling.
What year was that?
2000.
No, like a year into your business. Into
four.
Dang,
year 4.
Already year 4?
So 2018, the very beginning of 18. That started the process of selling the business with the intention being that it would provide me a runway to take Tint CRM and focus on it, which became TintBiz. So it was just a runway thing.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk a little bit more about the acquisition. But as far as like operating, like what were a $3 million company, like what's their ad spend? Look, what was your marketing mix at that point,
So year 2 to 3, like when we were like, you're like, oh, how the hell did you get from like $1 million to $3 million? Like we were throwing money into the fire to see how big the fire could get. So an example of that would be, we started off with Google AdWords. The budget was probably like $100 a day, $80 a day. And then we were running Yelp ads at the time too. Yeah. When we were at our peak, we were spending $30,000 on Google ads a month. We were spending somewhere around $20,000 on Yelp ads a month.
But there's no point of like diminishing returns when on.
Oh, there was huge diminishing returns. Right? Okay, right. There is huge diminishing returns. But there was also a strategy to it. And I'm not saying the strategy was like so laser focused, but like this was a strategy. It was, let's see how big. Because here's the thing. If we're getting more volume and we're not making any money on that volume, well, they still turn into reviews. And those reviews can propel us to like hundreds above. Like people have 18, we have 300 because of our volume or whatever it is. Then it can get us installers. So if we have the volume, like we're literally taking the jobs from our competitors. Like, so we were literally just a gas, like pedal to the metal, let's just see what can happen and optimize later, kind of. And then what we did was we did scale back. So when we went to go sell, I mean, we had cut all of our Yelp ads, but our Yelp profile at that point was like by far the number one profile. So you don't have to do it forever, but it helped us build up the volume in Yelp to make us like far beyond anybody else and then scale back.
Do you know if like the site that you built out, is it the same existing one?
So
or they mix it up?
No, they revised it. So if you like try to search the content, like if you go into Google, you type site windowtintla.com, it should pull up all of the pages and all that content should still all be our original content, but they kind of took it and made it even more simple than we had it, just to maintain the search but not really make it too much of an active site.
Yeah, because I keep tabs on like all the local, my competitors. I see what they're doing, see if I can mimic anything they're doing. And anytime like I Google like a phrase, top 2 that come up, Window Tint LA. And
well, let's keep in mind, like, what's the name of the company? It was the domain was Window Tint LA. I guess it was called Window Tint LA, but we wrote it out as Window Tint Los Angeles.
Did you do that for SEO purposes?
Yeah, only for SEO. So I mean, it was probably our first or second week when we named it Window Tint LA, because when we set up the fake company before that, like it was called tintpro.co. So like now that's a software too, tintpro.com. No shout out to them. But anyway, that was the website. When we set up Window Tint LA, like within weeks, we had people calling us saying like, hey, we've used your company before, blah, 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 because it just seems so generic. And some people see generic as bad, but we saw generic as ideal. Yeah. It was SEO. It was like, I think I used that company.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So at your peak, you were 20, 30, and like just in strict Google ad spend?
Just in Google. So we were running Google, like to give you a perspective of what that looks like. We were running 3 different Google ad campaign, like separate ad accounts. So we would run an ad account to our main website. We would run an ad account to our Yelp page. So like we would have a Google ad. Like if you looked at the top 3, it was us, windowtintla.com. Then our Yelp profile is taking another ad campaign.
Oh, so you did an ad campaign for your Yelp profile.
And then we had a separate separate website. I can't remember the domain, but it was like it was a location more in like South Bay, because like our location was kind of more like Beverly Hills, so we had South Bay, and that would be our third. Like that third one would be our third Google ad. So we were running 3 Google ads.
What's the benefit of running that ad campaign to your Yelp profile?
We had such a good Yelp profile that like, I mean,
you just see it and automatically.
I mean, you go to that Yelp profile, you see all these great reviews, you go from us. Like that was a big thing. Was like our thing was like organic visibility. When you searched, you found us.
Yeah.
When you looked up reviews, they blew you away. The quantity was so out volumed of like what was going on at the time that we became the obvious choice. So we could be the premium choice. We did everything right, and it just kind of worked out. When I say everything right, I mean like we answer the phones, we show up on time. That's what I mean.
I mean, yeah. So like little people, people still like have a hard time answering the phone nowadays, or getting back, or even sending a proposal, like you said. So your mix was Yelp and Google.
Google organic, Yelp ads, Google ads.
Dang.
It's basically, and look, wrapped vehicles. So like we at the time had probably 10, 12, some give or take wrapped vehicles running around, if not more, and like every day, every few days, there was somebody who called us because, hey, I saw your van driving in front of me on the highway or whatever. So when you have 10 vehicles, if one of them gets you a consult every 3 days, it's pretty awesome. Yeah, it's 10 a month from vehicles. And like it would add up little, like those kind of, all those little things. Like when we had a glass company that would interact with us, we did a good job. We were staying on time. And when we were busy, we still provided them the same level of service. So we didn't lose them. I think a lot of times what happens too is customers pass through you because you don't as you get busier, your business evolves. They might hit you at a time where you're not able to service them the same way, and then they go to somebody else, and then you've lost a building block instead of built that building block. So we tried to keep all the relationship. When somebody was a house manager for a celebrity and we did their 2 different houses, like we did Sofia Vergara's house and then we did her apartment because she had an apartment condo, whatever. When that house manager goes to work for another celebrity, they call us. And then that house manager's 30 different house managers. And we're doing jobs for like a lot of high-end, a lot of celebrity jobs.
So like, what's the volume like at that point? You know, when you're spending $30K, like
you're looking at $75,000-$80,000 a week on the upper right hand of your TintBiz.
No, but
120.
But as far as like operate, because for me, like when it comes to like the summer, you know, I have like a couple admin, you know, that I have here, but I know and I try to find a balance because my issue is right now is like I want to kind of, you know, I hear guys like you talk about like addition by subtraction, stuff like that. I heard your concept about that is like being like most efficient as possible, but because yeah, I could throw up, you know, start ramping up my ad spend, but I'm just taking that top layer of hot leads. There's still a bunch of like a whole potential work that I'm not even tapping into, you know?
Let's talk about that. That is an extremely important point that is the difference between where most companies are at and where they want to be. Okay. Yeah. So scaling up, like you said, and getting the most out of the leads is one of the most maybe popular thing people are talking about right now, how to nurture leads, how to follow them and so on. And let's look at the business growing in 2 different directions. Okay. You may say, I want to scale up my business. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run more ads. And those ads are going to bring in a volume of inquiries. And then you're going to have to talk to those inquiries. Yeah. So you have to have whole systems around quoting those. And then those people found you based on an ad. So they're not like super sold on you. They like called you not because you're you. They called you because of your position, because of your ad. So now you have to probably, like you said, your closing percentage might not be that super high because like they're calling a bunch of ads. They're just calling around. But you spent money in them. So now you want to like follow up and like, so you build this whole system. You may even like be like, well, we have to email them. We have to call them. We have to 30 days. We have to da-da-da. You build all this shit around there. And then what you end up is with this like machine of money spending and like you're on like a wheel of money spending. Everyone's working. Something happens with the leads, you're screwed because now you have all this infrastructure. You can't handle the infrastructure, you're wasting all this money on leads. And like, it's just a mess. And like, that's basically the route everyone goes down. Now, let's go down a different scaling process. And let's say, we want to scale the company as fast as possible and as big as possible. Where are you getting your current customers from now? Well, you get a lot of your customers from good reviews, right? I think you do. Yeah. So, and when a customer calls you because of your good reviews, they're kind of sold on you. You close higher percentage of people. If your lead source is somebody who called you because they saw your reviews versus somebody who saw your ads, you will close more people on your reviews, no doubt, right? We can all agree. If it was a referral, no doubt more. If it was a glass company, if you say, we get a lot of jobs from glass companies that like, you know, contractors and so on, then you're going to close more of those glass company jobs than you would like brand new inquiries. Mm-hmm. So let's say, let's grow the company. Let's just focus on those. Let's eliminate all the other shit. And let's say, let's go, what are your best lead sources? Google reviews, glass companies, and referrals. And then so what if we focus all of our energy instead of spending it on Google and on Facebook and on this and on that, on glass company relationships, Google reviews, referrals, and organic search, let's say, Google organic search. That's a core part. And when you do that, now people are finding you organically as the first result, right? That's different than the ad. They're finding your reviews. They're coming straight from a company that's worked with you, from glass companies who build relationships. Now you don't have that same engine. You're not having to do that follow-up, that nurture, that how do I take advantage of it? I don't think you should. I don't think anybody should be calling people who aren't interested in your thing to see if you can get them to be back interested. I think you should be saying, who's interested? Who's my actual customer? Who's the home that's $5,000 to $12,000? How do I only focus on those customers? When a job, you know, when a job comes through, gets sold, that you kind of go, yeah, fuck yeah, like that's a good one. Like that's like good money. Why don't you just go, that's it. That's our only customer. I won't turn down the rest, but I will put no energy into anything that doesn't get us our customer. And that's where all the energy is going to be. So here's the final thought on that is in this industry and outside this industry, people say, I want to grow. What more should I do? And you mentioned addition by subtraction. Yeah. And I'm simply saying the growth can come by eliminate everything else. And instead of saying, what more can I do? Say, I'm going to do this at the cost of that. So it's not in addition to, it's at the cost of. So today you did a podcast at the cost of something, right? So when you say, I'm going to spend money on this, I'm going to try this, I'm going to do that, tie it, don't stop the sentence there. At the cost of something else. And when you start doing that, you force yourself to prioritize what's important. And if today you said I could be at 5 glass companies that will likely bring me in $1 million total, then you would look at this podcast maybe at a different value. Because you'd say, well, do I want to sit down with Erik, or do I need to go make $1 million for the year? Hopefully you still say you would sit down with me. But what I'm trying to say is, like, when you look at automotive, when you look at certain types of jobs, right? Certain types of decorative jobs, or certain types of unique jobs that may not fit your bill. Certain jobs that take a year or 2 years and many layers to get that job that you're competing against companies that specialize in. I'm saying, screw all that. When you go to a job, when you go to a dealer meeting and they tell you to get on Construct Connect, I think you should get up and leave the room. I think you should never go on Construct Connect. I think you should ignore that completely and go, why am I going to chase after buildings for pennies per square foot against companies who do this, and all the problems and liability that come with that you're in no way ready to take on from any part of that job, instead of going after homes and businesses that actually just put a paycheck in my pocket. I'll tell you why. Because the film manufacturers that tell you to do that, well, they are selling the film. So they would rather you go sell a job for 100,000 square feet or 200,000 square feet than go putz around in your neighborhood making high profit for yourself. They just want the film moved. Yeah. So you have to kind of understand, like, well, I guess we've gone in a long path, but the point being, addition by subtraction. Focus on what makes you the money, what's going to build you the long-term value in your business, and do nothing else.
Yeah, because I think my mindset is like, I don't see it at that way you said, at the cost of. I always just see it as like on top of what I'm already doing, you know. So like me not going into automotive, that was probably my most expensive, lesson that I've learned. I picked up, I told you how much I'm paying for here, $8,000. I shot myself in the foot. I have 4 bays that I don't even freaking use, Yeah, I could relate to that. I finally saw the light, be like, okay, if I grow this car business, it's going to be at the cost of my flat glass side, So, because all the energy that I could put into, because I could grow the car business if I put like all my energy into it, but like I could just make a lot more money in the flat glass.
Focus on the thing that makes you the money. So people think like, it's kind of like a cliche, like somebody's successful at a certain business and then they go open a restaurant. So with the profits, they do something unrelated. Yeah. And you're successful at Tint, so you start a merch company. Nothing gets merch company. I love merch companies. What I'm saying is, you take the profit from one thing and you go play with it over there. And I'm just saying, like, what if you didn't and you just focused on where it came from?
Do you think it's possible to run a really successful flat glass and auto business together?
Yeah, but I don't see why you would do it. This is a tricky question.
Yeah.
It's a good question.
Because
tricky question. I think the answer to me, I would fight for a long time to say no. But go ahead.
Because for me, like, my biggest thing forever was like, do I separate window tint to everything? Because I don't want to go to my website and you see automotive stuff, just because
it's not good for flat glass.
When I'm going into like a bit of mall, they they vet you, they go to your website, they look at everything, and the first thing they see is like, oh, ceramic coating window, Mm-hmm. It's just not what I want, So I've always struggled whether keep it the same entity, or do like another company underneath it.
Let's talk about with Window Tint LA. We had the flat glass as Window Tint LA, and like you're saying, from day 1 and day 900, it was important to separate no automotive with that. But people would call and bang down our door for automotive, and even our customers would say like, "Hey, you just tint our whole," and they were high-end customers and they'd want their cars tinted, and we're like, "Sorry, we don't do cars." So we said, "Let's do cars," and we started a separate brand, Window Tint Z, and we opened up 2 car locations, one in South LA, one in El Monte. Now, the reality of those car locations they were like the one in, let's take the South LA one. It was 2 bays that you could get cars in, okay? So 2 cars at a time at best. If you know the car scenario, in a bay, you're going to do anywhere from, depending on who you are as a tinter, 3 to 8 cars a day yourself, in and out, banging them out if the work's coming there. And when you start to put those numbers and you go, well, you're not going to get 8 a day every day. You're going to get 3 some days, 5 some days, 2 some days, 6 some days, and so on. And then you say you have all this overhead. And then you say, what kind of volume does it take to deal with those car customers? Yeah. Man, they call you, like every 5 car customers is one of your customers, or every 10 is one of your customers. And you have this volume. And then you go, all right, so how much can I make out of this building than all this shit that I'm doing? And it's so capped. And then with flat glass, you go, no overhead, basically. A van or a vehicle and a salesperson, I can double, triple overnight, and I could contract overnight. Things go slow, park the vehicles. Who cares? Things are fast, send them all out, buy more. And so to answer your question, is it possible to run successful both? Of course. Are you likely limiting one because of the other? Yes.
At the
Is
cost
the
of the
better
other?
one flat glass? Yes. Now, I'm also speaking through a perspective of major markets, Los Angeles, or let's say California, Florida, Texas, and so on. If you're in a small town, it may make perfect sense for you to run automotive and flat glass side by side separately, because neither of them might completely fill your bucket.
That makes sense. So yeah, and that's how I feel now. And I've after tying up the lease and realized that I'm not going to do cars. So if you start a window tint company today, what's your strategy?
Strategy
From scratch.
Flat glass, 100%.
Yeah.
Google organic. Don't chase leads. Don't chase like any jobs. Like focus on your
What do you
customer.
What do you mean by chase?
So chasing's like running ads. So I'm not saying don't run ads, but I'm saying you don't really need to run ads, right? Like I would say your first move isn't making a post on Facebook and really trying to like I don't think that, like, that's just not my angle. I would just say set up a solid website, focus on getting organic traffic to that website by adding content to that website. Go make relationship with local glass companies. When you get the opportunity to service a customer, do an exceptional job, right? Like exceptional, from sales to install. Earn that good review, have a great profit margin, and keep that momentum going. So your first week, your first month, you're making some progress. You might not be making a lot of money, but you're not losing money, is what I'm saying. I don't think you need to go out there and spend a ton of money. I'll tell you one of the biggest waste times I think people are doing right now, which fall into the category of something I would not do if I started a new company, which is, and I know this might be a little a hot take, but like a lot of the social media that people are doing brings them back no return. And if you can do social media and bring back a return, I'm all for it. You are an example. You do social media, you can go to your account, it's clear, you see a return. I can just literally go to your account and I can look at it and go, this guy sees a return from social media. But for every one of you, there are like 1,000 that see no return. They're getting 6 likes, and 5 of them are their friends and other tinters, and 1 of them is their own company. And for those people, I want to go back to you are posting on Instagram, you are posting on Facebook at the cost of doing something else. So you just say, well, it's worth it to be out there. No. Write a blog post. Go buy some donuts and put together a folder, go to a glass company, spend an hour at the glass company. Go tint the glass company's storefront windows for free so that they can see what a difference your tint makes, and then they hire you. Like, go do something else, but don't do an endless repetition of something that's not bringing you a return.
Yeah, because that's one thing that I've actually doubled down a lot this year, and what I'm really focused on is that organic search. So like now, like I created this, I'll show it to you later, but like for every decent project, it creates a page inside my website for it. So, and I use AI to just freaking.
So that's something we want to do in TintBiz. We've been talking about it for a while, but like basically imagine now in TintBiz you have all your project details, like your film, why the customer, all the communication, pictures, everything, and think about the blog post that it could potentially spit out using AI and post for you on WordPress or Squarespace or so on automatically.
Yes. So I built like a little thing for my website where you just type in the film name, project details, 2 pictures. It uses 2 different AIs to look at, research the area, and it creates like a AI and SEO optimized blog post.
That's smart, and I want to call that out because that's the right way. Like as a lot entrepreneurs are very ambitious, and so they're going to look for how can I make things better and what can I do more of and so on. This is natural. And the smart entrepreneur says, what's out there existing like a TintWiz, but hey, how can I do something unique that does something in addition to, even if it's not connected, but you said, well, I'm going to spend my energy building this thing that's going to help me post more efficiently. The dumb entrepreneur says, TintWiz doesn't do this 1 thing or 2 things or 5 things that I imagine. I'll build a new TintWiz. Now, I'm not saying that because I don't want competition. I'm saying that because don't go re-engineer the things that are out there. That's not going to get you ahead. Go make something on top of. Go find a unique value addition. Something you can be unique to for yourself on top of the best tools that are out there. That's going to bring you actual value.
Yeah. So and like I started in January and I'm doing like, a couple posts a week. And like my organic like search, like I'm already seeing like I audit my leads, and I know where they're coming from and stuff. Like it literally the same as my ad spend, the new organic stuff that I'm seeing. So.
And it'll catch up. So your ad spend can get you there, get you some volume, but at some point you can cut your ad spend, go on organic, and your acquisition costs drop significantly.
Yeah.
Now,
do you know what your acquisition cost was back in the day?
Yeah, so I had some just basic like rule of like numbers that you could just kind of go back to. I still think they kind of probably hold true to today. So we would look at approximately like just the way it would work out, and then like basically these numbers were the way it worked out, and then we would try to keep them working out within that range, which was we would spend about $100 per consultation. Okay, so if we got clicks on our AdWords, we got whatever it was, and then we would schedule, let's say, a bunch of consultations. But when you say how many of those consultations did you sell, it would average that for every consultation. If you just said like, hey, you went on 10 consults, you sold 4 of them. If you take the sales of the 4 and you divide them by the 10, it would equal about $1,000 per consultation. So it'd be about $10,000 in sales for, let's just say, 4 consultations. Or 4,000 in sales for. Hold on, let me go back. Do you get the concept?
Yeah, no, yeah.
When you're scheduling a consultation, I can assume I spent about $100 to get it, and I can assume that on average it's worth about $1,000 for me.
Yeah, so your average those numbers are accurate, because that's what I was literally running my numbers literally yesterday, because I know I was gonna meet with you and I wanted to get into some of the numbers. But like right now, like I'm like at $1.75 per. Like that's my acquisition cost, you know.
And it should have gone up, right? Since my numbers of 100 being 6 years ago.
Yeah, so
7 years ago.
Like at your peak, like how are you tracking everything?
In Tint CRM, TintBiz, but like we weren't in any way hyper tracking anything.
Okay.
I knew our labor rates, our film cost, and obviously marketing's like our biggest spend. And then you have things like insurance and like workers' comp will creep up on you over time and things like that. But at the end of the day, like reality, we were just doing the best we could. We were making sure we knew we were making money at the end of it all, but we weren't hyper fixated on cost of acquisition. Now, could we have been? For sure. Should we have been? Absolutely.
Yeah, but you guys were killing it.
But that's part of like rapid growth. And I suggest like it's kind of like an inhale, exhale. You want to inhale a giant breath, but then you want to exhale and get rid of like what you don't need. So you might have like a rapid growth period of a year, 3 years, and then you should take a addition by subtraction and cut out and realize like, hey, where are our low? Where are we wasting money or losing money, or what are our low profit margins?
Yeah, because we were talking a little earlier. I want to talk a little bit about the acquisition, because I didn't really get into like the film industry. I kind of just fell into it, you know, because of my uncle. But I didn't really think like about an exit to it. But now like we just went to the conference and Matt was speaking there about like exits and stuff like that. And you know, now I'm kind of thinking about maybe I would consider like an exit. Do you regret it, or like would you do it again?
It was the best move I made by far, and now it set me up. I mean, it was the best move for so many reasons. To sell Window Tint LA to Matt Solar Art, and I feel the same way about this acquisition with Full Steam. I feel that way about business. So look at acquisition not as selling your window tint company, not as like, well, I sold it, now I'll retire, or what will I do? It's not that. Business, oxygen for business is money. Right? Like if you want to be in business, the same way you want to be alive, you need money. Like that's what keeps the business alive. So if I hand over to $100 million, that'd be a ton of money. And I go, here, you're an entrepreneur. There's so much you could do with that because it gives you so like that's what that acquisition is for myself. Like when Window Tint LA was just oxygen to be able to do more business. It's also an accolade, a credential. It's a level up. It was able to change my personal life, like my personal finances, to make it more efficient, right? Like I was able to put a down payment on a home. Like that mortgage payment was less than the rent I was paying at the apartment before. Like when I sold Window Tint LA, like it wasn't a crazy home, but like it was in Palm Springs, it's kind of cheap. But it had a pool. It was like, but it was cheaper than the apartment. So like you start to save money and so on. So like it can be a financial level up. And I think everybody should look into, take it seriously, because even if you don't sell the company, it will change the way you look at what you're doing in the company. It will bring you back to reality, maybe on the value of your company. Let me give you an example. It's a silly example, but imagine you get a car and you start modifying it and you hook it up and you put a body kit and you do all these things. And then you go to sell it and you go, nobody wants this fucking thing. And you're like, what is going on? Nobody wants it. I have so much money into it. I spent unbelievable amount of money. And you go, right, but you're not gonna be able to recoup the money. Nobody actually pays for it. People don't want it. You mess up, blah, blah, blah. And you go, oh no. Well, that's okay if it was like your car, but if it's your business, that sucks.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is being real with that process will help you be like, maybe influence some of your actions. So if you want to sell it in a year or 5 years and like level up your life money-wise, or start a new business, or go work for the company or partner, do whatever you want to do, or you don't sell it until retirement, like either way, you're going to be in a better position.
Is there any other way to exit besides like selling off to... Is there any other companies besides American Window Films that buys?
Yeah.
That you know?
So, like...
NGS or no?
I haven't heard of NGS making acquisitions, though I don't know if they do or not. I've heard of them making subtractions. Additions by subtractions recently. But no shade. I mean, that's part of business. But or it could be a sign of the industry, or it'd be another reason why I wouldn't go compete with them to get buildings, because what's the point? But to your question, like Eddie Schultz is another person in this industry that's recently been acquiring businesses. There's a couple smaller, like Matt's definitely the major player.
Yeah.
He's the one out
He's
there.
like the go-to
Eddie
guy.
Schultz, for example, acquired Campbell Window Films recently.
Oh,
so
really?
like, he owns Campbell.
Oh, wow.
Marcus went back to Campbell under his leadership.
Oh, wow.
So you figure like there are these things happening. First thing you're going to realize when you go to sell your company is, well, like you said, well, who's buying companies?
Yeah.
And you go, well, there's very small handful in this industry. And then you could look at how to try and position it outside this industry. Then you're going to say, well, out of the small amount of companies buying in this industry, why are they buying? What are they buying? And what makes those companies good for them to buy? And then you understand, do you have any buyers for your company? Like, is there a person? Because when you go like, I want to sell my company, like the first thing you should think of, well, who has the money that would be wanting to buy something like this? And if you come up with nobody,
So
you have nothing.
So, because I know service-based business is a lot harder to value, you know, because it goes like on a multiple. Like, how do they usually value like for me, if I wanted to value my company today, like how would I go about valuing it?
So there's going to be traditional valuation methods based off of EBITDA, that if you went to a business broker, if you were just looking to sell a company, they're going to just go, this is how this business should be valued. And I probably should not be the one who goes down that rabbit hole on valuation through that method. I think that method doesn't really apply to our industry because there's too few buyers. So I think the way to look at it literally is you have to strip it down and go like, start marking down like, who are the buyers in our industry? Why are they buying companies? Let's talk about that. When we talk about Eddie Schultz or Matt, I'll speak on their behalf. Could be wrong. They could speak up if I'm wrong. But they are buying flat glass companies, no interest in auto, zero, don't want auto, cut auto out. It's not an add-on. It's worse for them if there's auto. So they want flat glass, and they're primarily trying to go towards larger ticket, so high-end residential, large commercial, not a lot of running around, like autos running around, small residential is a lot of running around. They're going less running around, flat glass, that has systems in places to where the sales can be made by them or somebody else, and the installers, like they need crews, they need installers, and they need market recognition, because they have installers that they could send in any state, but if they have market recognition, like Window Tint LA had a constant flow of jobs coming in, so they could say, hey, we want to grow, we'll buy that from you. We can take advantage of your brand recognition, your organic traffic and all that, right? We can take advantage that you have installers and crews and salespeople, and we can buy it for that reason. We'll pay for it. Let me give you kind of like a different scenario. You have an automotive shop, it's been around for a long time, and it's in a garage, and it's looks like they've collected a lot of paperwork over the years and signage and things, and they've been there forever, and everybody brings their car to them, okay? Like cars come to them nonstop. But it's just the tinter and maybe a helper. And that tinter goes to sell his company. What he's going to realize is nobody, like that tinter wants to sell his company, let's say 200 grand, 150 grand, 300 grand, 500. There's nobody with 500 grand that wants to give it to him so that they could trade their life and the next morning go in there. Instead of having 500 grand, now they have that warehouse that guy has and tint the cars. There's nobody that'll do that. No. The person with 500 grand will go rent their own warehouse, cost 10 grand, deposit, whatever, 15 grand, 20 grand. They'll put up fresh stuff. They'll pick their own location. And for 30 grand, they'll be in business. And then they have 470 grand to figure out how to earn.
Dump it in marketing,
They'll be fine.
Yeah.
So you have to, like, not you, but people should understand, like, the person has to have the money and want to give it to you to trade what you have for their money. And don't pretend that you're waking, like there's a lot of people who are like, I'm working 6 days a week, 80 hours a week, blah, blah, blah. And like we're bringing a lot of money. Well, cool. But like somebody that has money is going to want to give it to you for that. Like, no. But let's take another route. You have a automotive shop that's super on point with extremely great recognition, but it's just a small shop. How much could it be worth? Something I would do as your advisor to selling the company is let's look at car dealerships in the area. Let's see if there's any car dealerships that have multiple locations, like the big money car dealerships, and say, what if we approach them to purchase our company, and then part of the transition will be integrating tinting directly into each one of their facilities, so they're no longer using a sub company. They'll have their own brand. This, like, the guy who owns that car dealership or lady is a business person. Like, that's a business, and maybe they want to now own a tint business that they can make money off of inside of every one of the locations with PPF and tint, because when they look at the numbers, they're outsourcing it right now. If they could bring it in house, they could have crazy markup on their tint and PPF and so on. And now you say, well, that car dealership person has millions of dollars for sure if they're in the industry in multiple locations. What would 300 grand be on a flyer buying your tint company, or 500 grand be on a flyer if you're telling them they might make that back their first year across all of their dealerships? Or you say, I have a flat glass company, and yeah, Matt might buy my company, but maybe ServPro buys my company. Maybe ServPro, maybe Budget Blinds, maybe somebody who already has a national company that's looking to grow says, we'll acquire a company and your job will be to help us take this now and integrate it nationally as a secondary brand or as an integrated brand into Budget Blinds or something like that. And that company might have $1 million or $2 million or $5 million to pay. It might be a venture capital company that bought a franchise or national brand or a regional brand, and their plans to take it national. That venture capital company might have no problem giving you 500 grand or $1 million or $2 million to join on board and see if you can be part of that as well. So, like, that's the thought process. And and in reality, if you're just tinting, like, not just, but if you're tinting windows all day, you don't have time to get into your ad account or your QuickBooks account. You don't have time to think about this stuff.
Yeah,
that's the reality.
Yeah, you know? One of the biggest thing I think did in the last year was, like, I officially hired a GM where I'm not really involved with the operations on a day-to-day basis, just because I want to be working on, like, building that. I'm already seeing a return on, like, the putting my money in, like, the SEO and, like, the organic and trying to optimize. And then one thing is, like the marketing, I kind of assigned myself, like, the marketing role in my...
Why?
Because I've gone through 10, 15 agencies, And
you can't do without it. And they all suck, and you can't do without marketing.
Yeah.
So you take it on yourself because it's kind of maybe the most important thing, right?
Yeah, I think
you said, I just hired a general manager to handle the day-to-day, and I took on marketing myself because it's so important. That is the point. You're right.
Yeah, so that's kind of like where I'm at right now, and I'm like, literally, I'm scaling my Google back. Like, I'm literally in there, and with AI, dude, anything's freaking possible now. Even though I went to school for business, so I did take marketing classes, and I know how to run basic. But I'm talking about really optimizing, like, my conversion costs, knowing my customer acquisition costs, all these questions that I'll ask these, like, agencies, and they can't give me answers for. And I feel like if I know, like the agency that I'm looking for, and if you're out there, reach out to me, because I'll hire you. Is like, I want them. Yeah, I want them to be like, what's my test? Like, I want to really go into the numbers. Like, dissect the numbers, know my acquisition costs, know what I'm paying per lead, even per impression. Like,
and the best way to do that is make your business so simple that it's so easy to see those things.
Okay.
And if you look at a company like that has high volume of ad spend from all these different directions and conversions and so on, then you have the tracking. I'm not saying you can't track it, but you'll see it becomes very complicated. And then some of the numbers that you track, you go, not really right, because there's exceptions, there's averages, I think medians out. And, like,
I just want to know, like, I want 100% positive that I'm getting a return. That's all I want to know,
Right.
And, like, and...
Well, let me ask you this. If you had two sources of getting customers, or let's say three, glass companies, Google Organic, and Google Ads. That's it. You didn't do a single other thing. It wouldn't be hard. If you're organic, you just go, I can figure out what's organic. Glass companies is unrelated. And then Google Ads is one platform to manage your conversion. How good would your ads be? How dialed in would your conversion be? And how well would you know that platform? Yeah,
well, that's kind of where I'm at right now, So I've lasered in Google. I do Yelp ads just because I know I'm getting a return. We tag them. Yelp, easy to keep track of, my GM, she hires all that. She'll, I'm like, what's the return on Yelp this week? She'll be like, we got 2,500, all right, cool. We'll keep it running. That's easy to manage. So the Google part is kind of where I'm kind of putting all my energy, and because I feel that's where my time is best to be invested in right now, like the organic and the Google. So we're
leveraging AI
through
it all.
Yeah, do AI, like there's like research-based AIs that I'm using, like Perplexity is like a research-based AI that I'm using to kind of, it walks you through the whole process, and you're just a little savvy, you can figure out yourself. So as far as agencies, what do you think of them?
I think generalizing agencies. Like, look, what you just described is the reason why I got into into marketing. When, like, in my 20s, I go, there's no marketing companies out here, and every business relies on marketing. So, like, I just have to learn this stuff myself. I can't have that, like, barrier be other companies.
Yeah, exactly.
So what you're saying is so right. I would say this: if you're looking for like Google Ads, Jared and Jessica in our industry, J2 Consulting, like everybody should know Jared Gyens, like they're like legit, like they know their ads, like they can run ads. So like I don't want to lump them into what I'm about to say. They should be an exception. But if you're just looking, but like they just do ads, right? Like I don't think they do websites. They don't do any sort of organic, like nothing. They just specialize in ads, which is why they're so great at that Google ads and Facebook ads, Meta ads, because they specialize in it. But like excluding them as the one like people running these agencies, for the most part, they're just running a business and they're trying to keep you happy with a minimum amount of whatever, because they're spending 99% of their time acquiring new customers so that they can make more money and grow. And like, if the reality as well is, if they were so great at marketing and they truly understood that, they would know that they would be more powerful doing it for themselves. And what you'll find a lot of times too, that not in all cases, but you'll find that the methods that they're selling you on are not the methods that they're strong themselves at. So the company that tells you should have AI answer your phone doesn't have AI answering their phone. The company that says AI can do sales for you isn't doing the sales for them though. And the marketing and the SEO that they're saying they can do really well for you, they don't rank very good for their own stuff in SEO. And that's pretty much the sign of a fucking fraudster. Right?
Yeah,
that's pretty much it.
Like it's funny because you go to a lot of like I check out a lot of the agencies and stuff like that. I go to their their Google profile or their profile. They have like no reviews.
I can get you social media following, but I have no social media.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah. So
why does a marketing company's Facebook page have 6 likes, but they're doing that for other people?
Yeah. So no, because I have guys. A lot of people hit me up, but like in DMs because I post a lot as far as business stuff, and they ask me like agencies. And my like default answer is like, look, it's better than nothing, like if you're not,
The way to find a good agency is to get good yourself, and then you'll be able to find the good agency.
Yeah.
Like that's the reality. Like I know Jared and Jessica are really good at what they do because I know Google Ads really great, and we use them for TintBiz to run Google Ads and Meta ads primarily. And like as great as I think I am at Meta and Google Ads, I'm able to recognize they are better than me. They know more. They are head deep in this stuff all day. And even if they were equal, even if they were less, like a little less, they are an external group that can do it competently. I'll gladly pay them to handle it because that's one less thing I have to do. It's not always about doing it better or worse either.
No, like for me, that's exactly what I'm looking at. I'm like, just let me find someone that could really school me on it and do it better than I can. So right now, I honestly feel like I could do a better job than most agencies out there. And for the price.
I know you can.
So, and it's just, that's
your social media shows it, by the way.
Thank you.
I'm sure your business, like your ads, everything, your Google ads show it, which I see because I'm local to you. Your reviews, 300 and something on Window Tint's everything, which is far beyond what your competitors. And your personal page and your business page are both popping on Instagram. So like, there's not really a question if what you're doing is working. I would just say find one agency that matches.
Yeah, because I definitely don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. But I just right now I feel the need for me to do it. Like that's where I feel like I'm most valuable. But yeah, that's my role at my company right now. I'm the marketing person.
Good.
But anyways, so the acquisition of TintBiz. So I want to talk a little bit about TintBiz because like for us, you announced that you got acquired. So like I know a lot of the guys out there, they were like, oh, did you see TintBiz got bought? I'm like, yeah, I saw. What does that mean for like us? They because there's a lot of people. Yeah, you guys done a really good job about building like a loyal community to TintBiz. So like some questions that I know I have is like, okay, is it gonna change? What is it looking like in the future? Is Erik still involved? Like what are the plans of like what does TintBiz look like for in like next couple of years?
So as far as the team goes, nobody left. So like Carrie Cadeau, myself, Chalar, the developer, like everybody's still the same. We are integrating payment processing. So that's like obviously the number one thing. The people who bought the company are payment processors. Like they're going to integrate the payment processing. We're doing that already. It's a great payment processing company and service. They wouldn't have grown from 2018 to now to 2,000 employees and about 100 companies if it wasn't great. So like people have to kind of go through that reference. If this is like trash, how would they be where they're at? So it's like they're exceptional payment processing company. The rates are great. everybody who signed up has been able to see some sort of savings. It brings physical terminals into play now, which we never had before. So you can tap and swipe and so on. It creates a better integration. We've added tipping. We're building invoicing around this. Outside of invoicing and that, there's a push now for development. There's a push for what features will provide the users more value. So like two-way texting, like self-scheduling, like those are ones that are tricky, not tricky on two-way texting, but tricky on they both have their pros and cons for the user, whether the user realizes that or not. We could get into that. But what I'm saying is like knocking those things out becomes a priority. But beyond that, like AI now, like I've had meetings with the Green Valley, the Miller brothers, about their suggestions for AI. I've had 2 meetings where I've had to present what we want to do for what we think would be the best thing for AI and TintBiz. Like, what I'm saying is like, I have a boss now, and what that means is I have somebody that like I'll do everything I want to do. I also get to do everything they want to do and push along like what they want. So, but it's a good thing, is what I'm saying. So, there should be more features, more innovation, and so on. There's a price increase. We're charging $25 more if you don't use the payment processing, $50 more. I'm sorry, 50 if you don't, 25 if you do. But the price should have gone up. Price should have gone up over the years. We didn't raise the price over the years. I don't really want to jump into like justifying, because I think everybody like you jumped in like, hey, it's price is not an issue, so I don't know. But like raising the price is a good thing. We're going to do with that money. We're going to do more things for the users. We're sponsoring more people for Tinter Battles coming up in LA than we've ever done before for Tinter Battles. We just sponsored, it's not been announced yet, but we sponsored the dinner at the film event. So the film fest in August or in April in Georgia. We're sponsoring the entire dinner. We rented out an entire restaurant, all the food, everything's covered. We just made an order of tri-edges, which everybody wants tri-edges.
Yeah, dope,
we made an order of the purple squeegees that are like purple PPF squeegees, but people use them for tint that have... What I'm trying to say by all this is the things that people love about TintBiz should be multiplied now, because we have backing behind us. I don't have to worry about everything myself. And we have resources, and we have initiatives, and we have like more of a push. So
when I initially got took over, my uncle already had TintBiz, so I've been with TintBiz ever since I took over the company. So that's all I know. But I did look into other CRMs, and I think what you guys do really well is you find the balance of not being too much. Because when you get into some of these other CRMs, there's just freaking
it's too much.
It's too much,
But it's not too much good. It's just too much.
And I know me, I'm pretty savvy. Like I'm pretty savvy when it comes to like apps and stuff like that, but I can't imagine like my uncle using like.
Imagine somebody coming to you that speaks 20% English, 80% Spanish, and then you having to teach them Salesforce or like HubSpot.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no freaking way. And I'm not saying because of the language barrier. I'm just saying because the software is in English potentially, or it's like, and it's just a mess. And what I'm saying is like, I want to be able to hand somebody an iPad with minimal communication and go, this is your schedule, your calendar. You click. They're looking at the project and they can see the measurements and they're done. Yeah. Like that's what we need in our lives. And when people look at other softwares, and a lot of what you'll see on Facebook groups is this other software does 20 times more things. Yeah. I get it. But the reality of what those people aren't telling you is they don't use any of those 20 things and they don't have any employees using the software either. They're just speaking on excitement.
Yeah, no, so yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, I think that you guys do a really good job as far as like the features and not having too much on the app. Because I know with some other apps you get in there and there's like payroll. I'm like, yeah, it's sure, maybe, I don't know, but like I just need the it does what you want it to do, and only that, so.
Or the harassment of customers. Yeah. Where like a lot of these softwares like Go High Level and others, they're built around, which is fair, but they're built around harassing customers. And something that I do think, I can't put it quantify it, but something I think was valuable to us in Window Tint LA was we never bother a customer.
What do you think about like automations, workflows, and stuff like that?
I mean, I think they should be used minimally where you get the most value out of it, but like not at the expense of customer experience. Okay. So like I freaking hate if I sign up for something. If I give you my phone number for a reason and you start hitting me up with unrelated bullshit, I am not a happy person. I'm not saying I get furious and angry with you and I call you. I'm not saying that. But like I immediately unsubscribe. I immediately don't want to deal with this. Like If I sign up for something, I want you to send me a reminder. I want you to, if you send me something, it better be real intentional. But if you start sending me this like kind of just like, we're going to keep in touch with you all the time, you are diminishing any sort of value with that communication and with that customer and the customer's perception of you. So let me give you a different example. With TintBiz, like a lot of people, their thought process would just be, with TintBiz on social media, their thought process might be like, you have to put out a lot of content. You have to be there. Like, we have to be there every day. It's got to be like volume. And it's like, no, we don't look at it that way. That works for sure, right? Gary Vee says so, like proof says so. But also what works is being respectful of your audience and saying, every time I post something, every time I message you, every time I email you, I am asking you for your attention. And you're going to give it to me, and then you're going to decide, was it worth it or not? And I want to make sure that you feel it was worth it. Because if I send you a text and you look at it, send you a text, you look at it, I put a post on, you look at it, you scroll right past it because it's a waste of time. Well, okay, I've just trained you to ignore me. I've trained you to think that I'm just annoying. But the other way is like, when I get your number and your email address and you're hesitant to get me your email address, and I say, we don't market to you, this is just for appointment reminders and stuff like that in your quote, and then I don't bother you, you like us. And I think that stuff adds up. So like what I'm saying is like I think a lot of companies are looking for gold and solutions in complicated nurturing of customers and systems. I think that is a waste of their time and energy and money, and you're not a lead funnel, you're not Alex Hermosi, because you don't have 100 million people that you can funnel down into 10,000 people into one course, and 1,000 go for the super course, and 500 go for the extreme super course, and you just made $50 million. That is not our industry. Like for TintBiz, for example, there's 10,000 tint shops. Like, you guys are my people for life. Like, I can't harass you to where you go, Erik's annoying. That means I've made myself annoying to you. There's not a million of you. And like, that's how I look at your market.
Yeah, because being the marketing director here at Window Tint Everything, I've looked into or pondered about like, man, should I do like email marketing?
Do you like email marketing? Do you like being on the receiving end?
No, definitely not.
Okay, do things you like being on the receiving end. That's a very easy way to decide what to do.
Okay.
Do what you like. So like when we looked at merch can be merch. You go to a merch company, you get a stress ball, you get a USB plug-in, you get like a few hats because they're expensive from merch companies and whatever. Do I like getting that merch? Nope. Do I like getting pens and coming home with pens and USB drives from a conference? Nope. So when I say, what merch should we do? I go, what do I like? Well, I know I like tools, because the tools I'm not an installer, I'd give them to the guys or the ladies or whatever. I like things that I'll provide. I like eating stuff, so like I like candy, I like coffee. See what I mean? So like, think about your customers as you like. So like, let's talk about flat glass. Like, what would a customer like for flat glass? Well, they'd probably like a bottle of spray cleaner. Now, do they want a bottle of spray cleaner that has your brand on it that they can only get from you? No. They want the bottle spray cleaner that they can get from Home Depot or Amazon or whatever. So if you give them something, give them a bottle spray cleaner that you're telling them, here, use this, and you can buy this anywhere. You've solved something for them. Next time I need spray cleaner, I can buy that one. The guy told me it was fine. I don't need to think twice. That's valuable. Now, what else? Maybe a microfiber cloth. You like microfiber cloths. You use them all the time. Mm-hmm. Give one to your customer, right? Like down that thought process, right? Do you have a tumbler? Like, there's a tumbler right there. Somebody likes that cup. I bet your customer will like that cup. Make one for your company. Give them a cup. See what I mean? Like, nobody's thinking like, man, I wish my Window Tint company would keep in touch with me more.
Yeah.
You don't like that. You don't think, man, I used a plumbing service for my dishwasher installation, and I wish I heard from them weekly and saw them on Facebook. There's no way you want that in your life. You don't.
In comparison to like a follow-up, the difference between like, like how
do you like to be followed up with?
So like, how much do you follow up, like
to the point your customer is happy. So like, job's done, you leave their house, they're extremely happy.
No, I'm talking about the actual getting the job, like
before getting the job.
Yeah.
So like flat glass, look, like there's no right or wrong answer to this, because like jobs are gonna be different, right? Some jobs are gonna take more and less and so on.
Yeah.
But ultimately, like if you do all the steps along the way correctly, it shouldn't require you following up more than maybe 1 or 2 times at most, because they're getting window film. You're their best option, hopefully. Mm-hmm. They're going to go with you. Like, yes, it's helpful to follow up, because sometimes like you could follow up like after a consultation or something, because like, hey, just want to touch in and make sure you didn't have any questions or anything like that. And they may be like, yeah, I actually did. And you would discover something. But like, or they say like, yeah, the price was a little high and so on. And then you're like, well, I can give you another option, or maybe I cut the price, where would you want to be or whatever. Like those are going to be like valuable follow-ups. But there's not honestly that much meat in those. In my opinion, the better thing to be focused on, because some things at the expense of, right? So following up at the expense of would be, how can we just get your ideal customer that sees the value in you and pays you your full price? Let's just focus on more. So instead of you today following up with 10 people who you didn't hear from after the consultation, how can we just get you doing something that converts into more people that turn into money? So like, if you're going to spend your day calling back 10 follow-ups, I would do it and quantify what happens from there, but I would question what you could have did in addition, other than that would have made you money, and go, if they were my customer, they're going to come to me.
So for like lead management, back at your peak at Window Tint to Light, it was just TintBiz. You guys just using?
Yeah. We didn't follow up. Like we would follow up. Like we would go through the jobs, see who did we quote that hasn't like locked it in yet, and like once a week or something, like, hey, let's call these people or whatever, like call the people from last week and see. That's like one follow-up, 2 follow-ups. After a week, 2 weeks, if we're not talking about like a big project in school or something, like why are you calling these people? Like if they wanted you, they called you. Like if I call 5 floor companies to give me a quote for my house, like if you follow up with me once, like cool, because maybe I had some questions and somebody showed me. But after that, like, why do you keep calling me? You know what will happen if I want to use your service. I will call you. So like, if you're following up with them too much, in my opinion, something along the way could have been done better, so they would have just been like more towards you, or that's not really your right customer. So let's now shift focus and take that application to TintBiz. TintBiz is a software, and going back 6 years, nobody wanted a company from a software to call them. I promise you, not a single window tint company would have reacted. Erik calls them 6 years ago about a software. They're busy and they don't trust me. And at the time, and they don't trust the software and they're busy. And there's plenty of software companies that call you for BS. And I would have fit into those. So I said, how are we going to pull people to us? How are we going to service the people that are actually interested in this? So like, we never reached out to somebody. And like, if you signed up for a free trial, we never called you. We never followed up with you. If you stopped using our software, we never followed up with you and said, come back. Because I simply said, that energy will be better servicing somebody who does want to use our software / making our software better so that other person comes back on their own. Our software will be the reason why they come to us. Our marketing will be the reason. Our website, our admin, our sales process, our merch that I gave them during the sales process that they weren't expecting. That will be the reason they go with us. Not because we email them, text them, call them on a system and da-da-da-da-da. That's not the reason anybody goes with you, in my opinion.
Okay.
And then what happens, I think, is what you can end up with is the longer phone calls are going to be the people who are the cheapest. So when you're following up, you're going to sit on the phone with somebody for 45 minutes that wants to haggle with you on price. And then that person's going to drive you nuts when you go to their house. And why?
Yeah, we just went through that. Literally we came down on price. We went 5 trips. We ended up refunding the money. I'm like, we didn't want your business.
I don't want your money. Yeah. I don't want you to have responsibility. I think the strongest move in flat glass or auto is sticking firm on your price for the most part and pricing it fairly. We have AI these days, which especially on large jobs, like you can go in and go like, these are my install costs. These are my film costs. I also have overhead. Just figure that out on your own. I need to make 20% as a company and I want to pay myself for doing and it'll just tell you how to price the job.
Yeah.
And then you price it. You don't go, maybe I can get more, and then maybe I'll come down, and maybe. What kind of consumer confidence does that give you? I can't tell you how disgusting it is if you get a price for $1,800, and like if I get a quote for something on my house, $1,800, let's say, and I go, and I don't do this, and I try not to work with people like this, but I'm just saying this scenario. You go, can you do better on the price? This was way more than I expected, and they go, come down, could do $1,550, and I go, can you do $1,450? I can't. Can we meet at 15? All right, I'll meet you at 15. What just happened there? You were about to steal $300 from me? Or what happened? How did that happen? Where did the $300 come from? I want to know. Where did it come from? Profit that you don't need?
Yeah.
Like, what happened? Did you see me? Was it my car? Like, that's fucked up. What scenario? I hate car dealers because you go in and you have to play games with them on the price or they try to rip you off. I like that Tesla gives you a price. You buy it.
Yeah.
I like that, right? I think that's the strongest move in flat glass or automotive. And when you do that, like you're going to be like, oh, I'm losing customers. No, you're not. You're gaining profit margin. You have a clear profit margin. You don't have to wonder, am I going to make money? Am I going to lose money? Customer doesn't have to wonder, can I beat this guy up to get a little more money?
Yeah.
They can just know, like, I have a system. You're paying for the film, my labor, my insurance, my time, my this, my that. This is the price, and I want to service you. That's it. Not, I just kind of came up with a number for you. It's fucked.
Yeah. No, I like how you do that. You reverse engineer things. Like you were talking about earlier, how you said I need to make this much, so you just literally build your whole business around those numbers.
And then this guy's not worth my time.
Yeah.
You know?
So you don't play with price. It's just fixed.
I'm not saying you don't play with price because you can't but if I was going to do it all over again.
Like over here, we get some guys.
So TintBiz, I don't play with price, and if I was going to do flat glass all over them, I wouldn't play with price. I'm telling you what I would actually do. If I'm doing consulting, if you say, hey, Eric, be partners in my company, I'll tell you, we're done with the price thing. We're going to fix the price. We're going to be confident in the price. We're not going to overcharge. What happens a lot of times is you come down in price because you charged a lot. So you're like, I can come down a little bit. Or you're just desperate for the job because you need the work and keep people busy. I don't want to be in either of those positions. I want to price it because I know that's my margin and I don't need the work. We're busy. You want the tint or not? Because you need the tint.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, especially like now, like the bigger I grow, like I found value in my reviews, if you want somebody else to, because the thing out here is there's a tint shop across the street,
I want their price, but I want your service.
Yeah.
And that can't be reality for anybody. You don't get that.
Yeah.
You don't get to go to the pizza place with 5,000 reviews and you go get the price of the pizza place that's, one review and it's $1 pizza. Like it just doesn't work. That pizza's $30. This one's $6. Like you don't get to do that. And people do that. People are willing to oftentimes pay a premium for a physical item, but not to a person, because they view that person as not deserving of the money, but that physical item as deserving because it's a physical item. And where you can start to shift the consumer's mindset is when they don't look at, I'm hiring George for my window tinting company or my window tint. I'm getting window tint everything. Yeah. That's what I'm doing business. It's that entity, it's that logo, it's that product, it's that van. Then I want that business. I want to do business with that business. And I'm not looking at the guy in front of me and seeing if he's making a lot from me or a little from me.
Yeah.
I think a little bit of that's mentality.
And then, I think that you were talking about earlier how when you used to do proposals, you would put them, like we have folders and stuff like that, but we don't use them as much.
Every time.
You think that's what builds like that kind of...
It's pieces. It's like cooking a dish, right? And like a lot of time, like it's like cooking a dish. You need all the ingredients in the right proportion and you can't skip one and you can't sometimes do them in the wrong order either. And that's probably the biggest thing I think people are missing is knowing kind of like all those pieces. So you just said, I have folders, but I don't really use them.
Yeah.
And I couldn't help myself but talk over you and say, every single time you should use folders. So I know that to me, folders are like a salt. You don't like, I guess you could eat without any salt, but like you might have happy customers without any salt. But if you cook consistently without any salt, people are probably not going to eat your food. And what I'm simply saying is folders are that salt. So like you're handing them a folder that like compiles all their stuff, right? It means like hopefully there's samples in there. There's a printed insurance. There's a printed W-9. Like, yeah, it could be digital, but you're putting it in front of them. So when I come behind you, I don't have what you have. You've separated yourself now. I give you a piece of paper. I give you a sample. Maybe you put that sample in the folder that you got from somebody else. I don't give you anything. Now I've separated. Well, how come that guy gave me something, that guy didn't give me something? Heat box, same idea. How many people, I was at the Coolview dealer conference and Jeff, co-owner of Coolview, said, raise your hand if you brought a heat demo into a consultation in the last 30 days. And I want to say it was about 10 people out of 50 or 60. I believe that's something you bring in every single time. I don't care what they're interested in. Bring in the heat demo. Show them the heat demo. I've never seen somebody not be impressed with the heat demo. Heat demo blows your mind. You go, wow. You could be getting frost. And I go, hey, you want to check this out? Check this out. I brought it. It's not for the frost, but check it out. See the difference in heat? You're going, wow. Why do you not think that's important if you have a customer who calls you for them to know that exists?
Yeah.
Why is that not important? Why do you skip over that? Like you, but like other people. Why? Because it's heavy to carry it in.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So then how heavy is it to deal with all those people's emails and questions about pricing and not going with you and da-da-da? Why don't you just blow their mind ahead of time with the heat box? And when the next person comes in and goes, well, do you have, like the film you're saying, can you show me how it works? And they go, no. Okay, well, no folder. You didn't show me how it works. I peeked out my window and you came in your personal car, not a wrapped vehicle. There's no insurance printed or whatever. I asked you for a price. You wrote it down on a piece of paper. I mean, you know.
Yeah, I think that all those things kind of justifies the levels in this game, or the levels in companies, you know, because little things like, and I try to tell the guys, like, little things that you do, like, people are looking at you. When you go in a nice house, you cover your shoes, obviously, you know. The last guy went and didn't cover my shoes, you know, like little things. People watch what you're doing and how you move, and then my price came in a little bit higher. Yeah, the guy seemed way more professional. His things, everything was on point. His proposals came in clean. He priced me right away, you know. Like all those little things, like you said, it's like you're cooking, you know, all the little ingredients, yeah. And I'm still trying to put my recipe together and stuff.
And another thing to point out, because there will be people out there that says like, you know, my customers just don't appreciate that, not my area, my this, my that. Now the reality is too is like, what kind of lead are you getting in? So sometimes people find themselves like they're getting very few leads. They're getting the bottom. They're like hypothetically, you're not good at SEO. You're kind of shitty reviews on Yelp, and your Google's not good. You still get leads from there. You're getting people are calling everyone. They're calling like 15 people. That's why they're calling you. So then when they don't bite with that quality, when they're not interested in all that, they're so focused on price, your perception could be customers only care about price and there's no margin because of all the competition. You're just getting only the customers that care about price and blah, blah, blah. But the customer who has a house in Malibu or in Brentwood or in anywhere, because like we're in LA and every house is 900,000 and up. So if you're in a house that's $1.5 million, which is an average house of $2 million, a lot of times those people are very concerned about who they're letting in their house, first of all, what, like if they can trust the person, period, what the floors, if they're going to get damaged, are you going to have water dripping down the windows, like, are you insured? Like, are you going to steal something? Like, all those things play into people's minds in your home. So, like, sometimes it's not, like, it's just a matter of, like, you're not getting the inquiries for the right customers to fit that business model. So, that's another tangent we could go down, which is, like, you have to identify what your business is supposed to look like and build that business, and then that's the business. So, like, if you are in a mediocre market and you're doing auto and you're doing one bay, and your job is to make that one bay in that market profitable. So that might be mediocre prices, mediocre reviews. I mean, that just might be the market. And at the end of that might make you 60 grand a year in profit because that's that one bay. Now, in my opinion, your job is to say, I'm going to make the perfect little tiny business in this shitty neighborhood or whatever it is that makes 60 grand a year. And from there, if you want to grow, open another location and perfect that one. That one has different prices. It's in different areas, different rent, it has different whatever. Your job is not to take that one and try to make it bigger and then change the pricing and then change the neighborhood and then. It's understand where you are, who you are, and what business you're building and make it make sense. That's it. McDonald's has McDonald's menu. Fatburger has Fatburger menu. And like there is, you know, high end in areas, there's low end in areas. Be the business for your customer. Don't always be changing your business and saying like, I'm going to spend a ton on a website for a tiny one big thing. And then I'm going to, you know, open a giant operation, but it's in an area that doesn't have much business. And like you're constantly, people are just moving pieces of the puzzle and they'll never hit the right formula.
No, yeah, because I think that's the beauty about flat glass is that like location probably matters for automotive, you know, being in the right demographics and blah, 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 whatever. But for flat glass, you can literally be, I know guys pulling in, you know, deep six figures out of a freaking storage unit, you know.
Our location in South LA for automotive was South LA, one of the shittiest areas on Western and Florence, and we were trying to be at luxury high end. We had Alex Monopoly's G-Wagon, I don't know if you know what that is, like we had Rolls Royces parked, and like I'm talking about like I'm going there in the morning before I'm going to the LA, to the flat glass. I'm going there in the morning when we first got started for months. Going in the morning, and before we open, I'm getting a broom and I'm sweeping condoms and needles off of the and underwear off of the entire street curb on both sides of the curb because there's a motel across the street from me, and I clean that area because when we have somebody bringing in their Aston Martin or whatever it is to get tinted, and they're coming from Santa Monica and Brentwood because somehow we're marketing over there, I don't want them to be too turned off by our property. And like I'm telling you how dumb that is what I'm saying. We should have serviced the people in that area. The pricing, everything should fit the people in that area. That should have been our business. And a lot of people, I think, are trying to create a business they see online, a business they dream of, a business they want to be involved in, and it might not fit their area. It might not fit their model or whatever. And I'm just saying, like, it's not always about rebuilding. It's not about, I started here, now I built here, now I closed that, now I rebuilt here. Yeah. Every time you do that, it takes money and time and energy. Like, why not build a business that functions, operates, is really streamlined, and then go do another location of that functions and operates and really is streamlined?
That makes sense. Yeah, because right now, like, I'm trying to think ahead as far as for me, like, how do I want to kind of take this to the next level, whether it's me start targeting other regions in California, you know, like flip a campaign in OC, you know, start going out that area. And maybe because now with like social media, like I said, like installers are like, I could get installers now. Like,
see, I think your persona comes across like you could be a nationwide large commercial.
Yeah.
Like nationwide residential, I don't think it's like a thing, because like how would you really manage that?
Yeah.
I'm not saying you couldn't figure it out, but like nationwide commercial, you have such a big following and you have like big reach that there's just buildings and people just want you to come into your buildings. You have so much content to be on top of buildings. Who would you trust with a building?
Yeah.
And then you sub it out. I also think you have an opportunity as a coach or a mentor or whatnot, because that's something where a lot of people are trying to do it, but you actually, I feel like, are in a position to do it because you've already proven like you have what it takes. You put out content people find value in. You've built your following. You've all that stuff. And I think if you just expand it, maybe like zoom out to service industry, and you double down on like you, specifically you, like your upbringing, your Los Angeles, your uncle, how you got into things, I think if we say service business, there are so many people who would be dying to like talk to you, come to your courses, like whatever it is, like if you truly make it something of value. And I think like you run your flat glass company and you focus on you as a mentor coach, you stay local, you do commercial national, and you focus on you as a real coach, but like real coach, like real building value, like not like spending money in ads to attract people to your class so that you have a little bit of a profit so you can say you had a class. I'm saying actually building value and big money. I think there's nothing better. Like there's no way you make more money and have a better future than like your personality and you and all you've accomplished and will.
No, that means a lot coming from someone like you. But yeah, that's what we're actually having our first course. I'm gonna put a quick plug coming in April. And like the one thing that I don't want to do is like, and I'm not marketing for it, you know, really, like I throw like little plugs here and there, but I'm not running ads and stuff like that, just because like I've had a lot of requests for it, you know, from people online, and you know, we're like, I'm only taking 10, you know, and I have 5 guys already, and I'm okay with it being like small for the first one, but I don't want to take people's money and like not bring them value. It's like my biggest fear, you know. It's like, oh, I paid freaking George $3,000, and you know, I didn't get, because I hear that a lot from like these courses and stuff like that. So that's where I'm really hesitant too, as far as like working with it. And like now that like I have been doing a little bit more coaching calls, it takes a lot more time than I thought it would, you know, like, and a lot of like just and
kind of you have to think about with the courses and so on, like how that plays out. Like, okay, are you expecting people to travel to you?
Yeah.
If they're traveling to you, like figure out how much they have to like spend, right? They have to like leave their business or work, whatever, travel, get a hotel, pay for your course. Like that's a big ask. Are your initial requests from local people, or are those local people going to like need you long term? Like maybe not. Like, can somebody who took your class come back for your next class? Or does it not make sense? Are you trying to teach everything in one class? Or would it make sense that I do one class, then I come to your next class, then I come to your next class? Because advanced and beginning are separate, business is separate, install this, that, decorative, it's all separate. So think about it from that way. And I want to add 2 more cents. You know, I got a chance when I walked in here, obviously, to see your facility, which is pretty big. And you have people around, like you have admin, like you have an ability to hire. If you don't like the idea of bailing on this lease because you use the place and so on, I would turn this into a content house. Like this is a content house. Like you can turn this into a model facility of flat glass, of how flat glass can go in and out, a little model facility of auto if you want, of how auto can go in and out. So you say like, we're not going to be like just a company, like this is going to be like a model, right? And then because you set up lighting and whatever, and like I'm going to know your admin. That's going to be part of your content, and I'm going to know whatever, and like I'm going to want, like, you know what I mean? Like you take advantage, and then like I would say you could probably do like user-generated content that you could sell to companies. So like you could look at like sponsored, right? You could look at sponsorships around here. I'm sure companies like we would sponsor like this content house. I'm sure film companies would, but you could also look at it in addition to that, like user-generated content. So you say like, hey, XYZ company has a new film. You know who we are. Send us a roll of your film.
I got you.
I'm going to make 3 videos. They're going to be $5,000 total. You get to use them on your channel. For an extra $25,000, they'll go out on our channel. And now you have 75. Did I say 25 grand? 2,500. For $7,500, you're making 3 videos on a product, and you keep that cycle going to where you might be bringing in 30, 40, 50 grand in different things. Because now we're not talking about just window tint, right? We got to think outside the service industry. Who's does your payroll? Gusto. Gusto doesn't want to get involved in this. They got $1 bazillion. Like think of that. Like apps, services, physical products. You might use something for deodorant. Like that can be a thing. Like you're a sweaty dude in a car shop using this deodorant. That company needs to sell deodorant. And like if you focused and said that's all I'm doing, I bet you could turn this place into like a money factory of content. That all flows into your bigger goal of like yourself.
Yeah, and I feel like for me to like be like that person that people want to go to is I have to have my business on point, right? Like
you do, but then now let's go back to addition by subtraction. Your business, you could. Most people will say this: let me work on it in a year or two. I'm going to get things organized because I know what I need to do to get things kind of running on their own. Fair. But the reality is that day will never come, in my opinion. And I bet we could get things to where you're saying dialed in a month by subtracting like 70% of things. Because I don't know if you want to share, like, what's your gross volume in sales in a year? Like, what do you do in sales approximately?
Last year we did 1.5 last year.
1.5. So out of that 1.5, now we're just going to play some games. You don't have to confirm or deny. But out of the 1.5, you might make anywhere from $200,000 to $400,000 in net profit, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, it was around there. So
perfect, somewhere in there. So what then I would just say is, out of that 1.5 and all the things that you do to do that 1.5, what in there could we get rid of and still make that same money? That's kind of wasting the money. How can we just net? We don't have to do 1.5. We might do 1.2. Might do 1.1. 900. Might do 1.3. I don't know. But it doesn't matter. We could do 800. But can I still make my 300 from the 800 if I eliminate? Because that, to me, will get things on point. So, like, what I'm saying is I would look at your ads and go, like, well, how many ads can we shut off? Let's shut all the ads off. How much are you spending in ads? What if we shut all the ads off? What if we only focus on organic? How much do we get from that? And in a month, 2-3 months, throughout this summer, I bet we'd be able to see that if we cut all of your overhead, or we say this overhead is no longer window tints everything, we're going to split it up. It's part content house. We start cutting overhead, we cut ads, and we cut all those expenses, and we just say, what jobs do we get left with from our organic and our reputation? And then, like, we just do that. Could I have my business in line to be able to now focus completely on this other thing? And I think the answer is yeah.
Yeah, so
I don't see why not.
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to figure out right now, what the best route, because the more, and then the thing is when you help out guys too is that, I want to be like a good coach to these guys, and sometimes like they'll text me or call me at the wrong time, and I'm really bad at texting back and it
could be the worst. Sometimes the worst people unfortunately come to the coaching, and then like that person's not, what I'm trying to say is like, some people don't value their time. Some people will repeat the same cycles over and over. Some people will not make that. And like sometimes, like if you're a marketing company and I just say, hi, I'm doing marketing, a lot of the inquiries will be from the people who like, they've used every marketing company, they suck, their company sucks, they're desperate, and they're just looking for another maybe way. And what I'm saying is like, you have to be careful that your coaching scales in a way that you're providing the most value, but your time is not be taken up by 1 or 2 or 3 people, because that's not providing value to your whole coaching.
Yeah, so that's like a balance. Yeah, it's another balance act. So yeah, I mean, I'm still trying to figure everything out. The whole tint industry. Because I'm new to it. I'm going 5 years into it. So and I came from I was a general contractor before, so that's why. My uncle, it was a big story. Long story short, I'm still paying off my uncle, so I think I'll have him paid off by the end of this year. So after this year, we'll
it's huge.
Yeah, it'll be completely mine. I mean, it's mine, but he's still in it till he'll probably still be working for me. After he retires this year, or after I pay him off this year. So
have you asked him, like, looking back in retrospect, if he looking back, like, what would maybe be one of the biggest things if he would have wanted to do differently?
Yeah, I mean, he was the first podcast, and we talked about some of the things, but he's really good of running like a really lean machine. Like he was
keep it small, keep it all.
Yeah, he was one of those guys. So, And I came in. I think his biggest year, he said was like 900,000. You know, he said he never broke a million. So I came in and I kind of just threw gas on the fire and started spending money everywhere. You know. But yeah, he ran it well. You know, he was making his $200,000 a year. You know, just one man shop pretty much. It was him, Rick, and his front desk, and a couple subcontractors, and he was just making a killing. You know, so I came in, and yeah, I think I do plan on going national just because of like the reach I have. But I do want to do it strategically where it's not a shit show, and just freaking disaster and trying to.
Let me ask you this: in your opinion, why do you think in a saturated market like LA, there is a billion tinters, and you just pointed one across the street?
Yeah.
That you're still able to come in 5 years, 6 years in, and have grown the company your uncle built past his best year ever, and you were able to come in a saturated market with less experience than he had. Right? And grow it beyond where he was able to grow it.
I think the biggest thing for me is I'm not scared of losing money because I take it as a paid education. So like I've made a lot of mistakes and I've paid the price for it. Like I'm paying a big price right now. So I think that's it's like it's a curse and a blessing, I guess. Because a lot of people are scared to kind of try to spend freaking $5,000 in a month in Google Ads. But I think that's one of the bigger things is just because I'm not really like if I'm in, I'm all in. I'm like even with my installs, I get a lot of heat on Instagram for some of the sketchy installs I do.
Bro, I know exactly the video you're talking about.
Yeah,
I mean I've seen a lot of your sketchy videos, but there's one you just posted like a week ago or something.
Yeah. I'm getting a lot of heat for that one right now.
With the perf.
Yeah, with the perf. And you know what the funny part?
You wear a wingsuit or something.
Yeah, and the funny thing is people are just giving, on that one specifically, they're talking about me doing a wet install. That's like all the comments. It's like, this guy's doing a wet install. I'm like, bro, I'm about to freaking die over here talking about me doing a freaking wet install on perf.
Here's the one thing you should be aware of. Insurance companies do audits by searching your website and your social media. If they see that, they will drop you from the insurance.
Oh, really?
100%.
Dang.
So and I know that.
But I'm exempt, aren't I?
Exempt from what?
From like
general liability?
Oh, for like a general liability policy, even those? I'm talking about workers' comp and stuff.
Yeah, workers' comp because you're the owner of the business, and like maybe I'm like I know because we had pictures of like ladders on stairs and like super tall, and like you take those off your website. Like, they do not want to see that stuff. I'm just telling you, social media is like that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no.
Like I'm not specifically trying to say like because you're the owner and whatever, but like. That's a legitimate thing that will come up.
Yeah, well, that's one of the issues too is like sketchy installs because there is sketchy installs. I'm usually the guy to do it because I'd rather it be me than one of my guys kind of.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be you either.
No, I know. No, and there's
your life is valuable.
No, but there's definitely, and for me, I'm so like I said, I'm reckless sometimes where like.
Yeah, we have 2 kids now. You can't.
Yeah, no, like now I would look back. I'm like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done. I should have just gotten the boom lift and because I should have done with the boom lift.
And none of your people should be doing sketchy stuff because one stupid thing happens, it can change your whole business forever.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Like you could have illegal tint, like in California with 70% VLT on your side. So it has to meter 70. So you have to put an 80 on a car. Mm-hmm. So like Air 80 is pretty much the only thing that's going to go on a front side doors. Front windshield can't have film. So it's clear film is illegal. It could be clear, it's still illegal. Can't have film on the windshield. So with that said, you could have an install van. Well, we're a tint company and everybody does it, and you have like my personal vehicle and you put 30% on the front or whatever, and that installer gets in an accident and somebody dies or something gets hurt or somebody runs into them, and then it goes to court, and then the lawyer has to go through every single reason why your installer is guilty, and then your installer, obviously your company, then your installer's lawyer is looking for ways to get him out or her out of that. So the finger gets pointed from everybody at the window film that was illegal on the company vehicle was the cause of this.
Yeah.
And you say, why do you have illegal window film on a company vehicle? And I say, the word illegal and company can't go together in any fashion. And so like when you're saying like sketchy installs, like we did sketchy installs Windows Tint LA. You said, what if you did it all over again? We would do no sketchy installs. 0 sketchy installs. That many. I don't need you hanging from a glass, mezzanine over stairs to get a window that's over there with a plank going from here to the ladder. Like, no fucking way. I don't want that money.
Yeah.
Figure out another way or I don't want that money. Because if something actually happens and Joe would have fallen and got paralyzed, I would be looking back right now going, hey, my life's pretty good. And that guy Joe that used to work for me is paralyzed. And like, what do you do?
No, for sure.
No amount of money in the world fixes that.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm not trying to like shit on that, but like,
no, yeah, I get it. And a lot of times I
zoom out and go, what is going on here?
Yeah, and I like being the troll sometimes. Sometimes I'll do stuff intentionally. Like I did a video about cutting rubbers just to troll people because I get so much thing for cutting, so.
And that's why you have social media too.
Yeah, you gotta get their attention. But anyways, we'll end on this. So what's next for you now that you're kind of, what's the next move that you got? Like planned ahead for Mr. Devash?
So we got TintBiz, which I want to keep my full-time thing. I'm also doing consulting. So I want to get into consulting because I want to be able to, I don't necessarily want to, I don't need to own the business, do the day-to-day, but I know that my biggest value is go in and be able to like solve problems, whether it be the launch of a brand or fixing a company or scaling a company or solving some sort of issue, whether it be in window film or just in general service businesses. I think like I'm really good at that and I actually really enjoy it. Anytime I'm talking about it, I get like super amped up and like excited. So being able to offer that, and an extension of that is erikdevash.com. I've started like a blog there. So what I do is I'll take clips from this podcast or clips from other podcasts or just thoughts I have or things, and I'll expand on them on long form through video and or like a blog post. And that's going to be like kind of the hub of if you say, hey, I appreciate the information Erik puts out or I'm interested in like learning from that would be the place you go. And I just kind of want to keep it simple and just say like, if a company wants help, I'm actually able to help now. TintBiz isn't like, I don't know, it doesn't take up like 8,000 hours a week now. It's a little more defined. I have a team.
Backup now.
So I'm excited to do that because I want to go into companies like, here's the thing, I guess to round that question out, I want to be able to say like I believe there are companies out there that are maybe making $100,000 a year, $150,000 a year in profit, and I think they're leaving another 100 on the table. They could be, instead of 150, they could be making 250. Instead of 4, they could be making 6. I think there's a lot of companies out there that could be looking at selling one day and they have no clue how to do it, or they need somebody to help manage that process or whatever. And I think my experience lends to being the perfect person to come in and do those sorts of things. So that's what I want to do moving forward.
Because like it's so like for guys like you who've been there, done that, and same thing with me. Not that I'm huge or anything like that, but for a guy who comes at me, they're making $1,000 in flat glass. It's so easy for me to tell them how to just,
right?
Like because like we're on our best months. We're like easily over. Like in summer, I think we have like a $200K month. So like for me to fix that problem is so easy. So and I've had a hard time like kind of finding people who are open. Because once you get to, there's no 3 to 5 million company that I could go to be like, hey, can you show me what you guys are doing so I could do it too, because they're kind of they're your competition at that point,
Speaking of that, have you had a chance to speak to Matt from Solar Art American Window Film? Meaning like I knew you guys were at the Eastman Dealer Conference this week, or any time prior. Do you guys have a relationship?
Not really. Like we know each other, but that's about it,
So like my move, like my personal, like the way I would approach it, if I'm feeling some sort of like, you want to reach out to, I would just go to Matt. I would shoot him a text. Hey, I'm George. I met you over the weekend. I want to sit down. I have a company in LA. I want to sit down and know what is in between me right now and you wanting to buy this company. Now, if you don't want to sell him the company, that's separate. But what I'm simply saying, and I'm not saying he has to be the buyer of the company, but to me, that's a friendly way to say like, hey, I'm kind of interested, maybe now, maybe in the future. And also I'd like to know, like I bet if Matt could, he would love to be able to teach 10 people how to build a company that he would want to buy. So they could farm, and he can buy the fruit. You know what I mean? That's
kind of Hormozy's model, right? That's what he likes.
Teach them, and right. So like, I feel like Matt does come to this. I feel like if you express that to Matt, I have this company, we do $1.5 million. I don't know if you'd buy it now, but I want to understand valuations, and if I could get to the point you would buy it, that's a good conversation to have. Like, bring him in. I think he's in Tennessee now, but you could bring him. I'm sure he comes here. You could bring him to the podcast or whatever. Or have a call, and then he may literally be like, whatever, and blow you off. Like who knows, right? We don't know. And if he blows you off, the way I would interpret that is, this guy's not going to tell me what to do to grow because he's in LA too.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to buy me. He wants to destroy me.
Mm.
And then I go, all right, got it. And you see what I mean? Like, and but I think, look, one thing, and then we'll leave it off, is the thing that I learned from Window Tint LA that I've carried on, one of the things I've learned that I've carried on, and it was how TintBiz ended up getting acquired and so on, is knowing that things aren't just going to happen from the sky. You're not going to win the lottery if you don't buy a ticket. Be willing to vocalize and communicate what you're trying to achieve to those people, because that will get you what you want. And if you don't, and you sit in silence and hope it comes to you, nobody would have bought Window Tint LA.
Yeah.
You know?
No, yeah, that makes sense. But that's very, you changed my perspective on a few things, and I appreciate you coming on. Where can people find you? Just on Instagram? If somebody wants to reach out for like consultation, stuff like that, just
ErikDevash.com is the best place. You could go to Instagram, but ErikDevash.com is like where I put all my effort.
Erik Devash. And then anything else from you?
No, that's it. I really appreciate you doing this, and I'm really optimistic about how this is going to go. Don't stop.
Okay.
Really.
No.
I mean it. Don't stop. Not just saying it as motivational. Saying, don't stop, this is going to work.
Okay, cool. I'm not, definitely don't plan on stopping. Like, I'm coming in, like, I got to my target on like all the window phone companies around here. Like I look at them, I study them, like I see what big boys are doing. So
I mean, don't stop with the podcast.
Oh, the podcast?
I know you're not going to stop in general.
Oh, the podcast?
But I mean,
no,
the podcast
but cool. Yeah, no, the podcast.
Like,
yeah, the podcast.
You're going to do great on it.
Yeah, yeah. It was really like, for me, like just to be able to talk to people like you and pick their brain and like questions that I have, and like it just. And for people to see that, that's for me, I'm doing it more for me than for you guys. But whatever, like, because I get so much value out of these conversations, but it does help to spread the knowledge, and because there's definitely levels to this game. Like I'm trying to open the eyes of people that the film industry is like a lot bigger than people think. Like it's
big opportunity.
Yeah, big opportunity. It's crazy. But yeah, if you guys, any questions, feel free to reach out. Reach out to Erik. Yeah, that's it.
Thanks for doing this. Appreciate you.
Yeah, man.